here.
What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Sith Lord who's half the man he used to be, his favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Sideshow Collectibles 1/6 scale Darth Maul. This is on loan to me from, I'm just going to use the man's initials because I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly where he stands with his name being on the internet. So, JR, and he sent it to me to take a look at. I think he got it for around the holidays, and I'm happy to. I love Darth Maul. I love the character. I think that he was a total waste in how he was utilized. But nonetheless, I think he's a really cool character, and I'm anxious to take a look at it. But he does have a fair amount of accessories, some of which I'm a little iffy on, but let's just go ahead and get into them. Real quick, I'm using my new camera. You have to let me know if you guys can notice any difference. It's supposed to be somewhat of a big deal. I'm not a big tech guy, so you'll just have to let me know if you notice anything. So here are the hands. We'll talk about the options, and then we'll go through the detailings of one because they're identical across the board. He has one hand that he's using with like 2-finger force move, and then he has another force style type of hand, which is always good. 2 fist hands, so no problems there. 2 relaxed hands, which is also good to have. And then 2 holding hands, one of which he is using currently. And they're fair. They all have this leathery texture sculpted into the glove, and then the seams are all sculpted in the glove, and some wrinkles and stuff, so they're fairly well done. He comes with kind of your standard 1/6 scale display base in hexagon shape, and then we have this thing that you plug in with these 2 metal bars that come up and kind of clip underneath, not clip really, but support underneath the crotch, and they're adjustable as such, so no problems there. And then he kind of has his signature standard double bladed lightsaber with the silver finish, and all the black and red details are all painted on, and he holds it fine. It's a little bit of a challenge to get into his hand, but he holds it fine. I'm going to leave it in his hand for the sake of the review because this isn't mine, and I don't want to put undue stress on it taking it on and off. But it works fairly well. The only problem that I'm running into, and I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong, I may look into it more, or he also comes with 2 blades, but they don't fit in nicely into the lightsaber. Like, this one is far too loose on this side, and then it's a good fit on this side, but it's a heavier piece, and it's like it's not a long enough peg to kind of go in to support the weight. It is sculpted nice, like there's like energy details sculpted on it, so I've never seen that before, so that's nice to see. But it's the same kind of deal with the other one. This peg is too long and doesn't really go in, and on this side it's way too loose. So like that's like a deal breaker. That's like a huge deal if you can't have him displaying his lightsaber. Yeah, that's just a lot of disappointment for one day. I think the disappointment is over for the Hot Toys Wolverine. Wow, the box feels like Hot Toys. It looks like a Hot Toys box. Why are the arms off? What in... Crazy Toys. Oh, no. So let's talk about the figure. The face sculpt is beautiful. It's breathtaking. And the paint applied is spot on, dead on the money. I'll try to mention everything. I'm not sure I'm even going to be able to. But it appears to me that all of the horns are washed and possibly dry brushed. So they're painted with a base color that's like a bleached bone kind of a color, and then washed, and then maybe hit a few accents along the way, which is nice. The black on the face is all the flat black, and then the red is painted on, and the red over black is difficult to do, but it kind of like it acts as its own shading technique, which is really smart, and then an additional wash it looks like is applied, so that works really, really well. The eyes, spot on, dead on the money. We have the red paint underneath the eyes, like where the eyelid is, like the pinkish, fleshy tone between skin and eye. And then we have the eyes that are painted, the pupils obviously, and then they're covered with a gloss, which picks up the light really well and gives it a very lifelike look. It's extremely well done. As for the torso, it appears to be that same double ball peg kind of event from the chest into the abdomen, and then we have an additional ball peg from the abdomen into the pelvis. So you can get it fairly across on both sides. The swivel is kind of anatomically correct in terms of the waist articulation, and then you get a fair bit forward and then a fair bit back. So that's kind of okay. It works fairly well across the board. We'll talk about the articulation, and then we'll go over these soft goods. So it appears to me that it's, I can't tell obviously, but it appears to me that it's a disc hinge attached to a ball peg into the chest. And then the shoulder piece kind of feels like it's its own piece also, but I'm sure it's some sort of price-saving thing because they wouldn't need to necessarily cover it given the soft goods. Articulation-wise, you get it up to just about 90, a little bit shy, and then you get the swivel all the way up, so that works well. Bicep swivel is in there between the shoulder and the elbow. Double jointed elbow, which gets you 90 degrees, and all this stuff kind of bunches up nicely. The sleeves are a little too sewn tight, in my opinion, up into the elbow. I'm guessing that's for the glove piece, which does feel like a faux leather with the same sort of sculpted wrinkles and stuff in there. So that is a bit, I don't know, it doesn't seem quite right to me for whatever reason. And then we have the same wrist articulation, so it's a ball hinge, and it gets up and down, and then it swivels at, I would assume, yeah, it swivels at both ends, so you can get the hand, in, out, up, down, no problem. You just have to manipulate it around, and then that's the force hand. I love in the movie when he picks up the droid head and throws it into the door as he's like backflipping through the, love it. Okay, articulation, same for the other side. Moving down the figure, we have this kind of soft, like it almost feels like patent leather almost. Wrap. You have the gold buckles on there, and then you have this clip. This does clip onto the lightsaber there. As a heads up, I have been warned that it is this black tip here, this peg is extremely fragile. The guy who sent it to me actually broke his and had a replacement sent to him, so be mindful of that. And then moving down, it feels like just ball joints. He does have baggier pants, which is accurate, so the legs get you out to about there, just about 90 degrees forward, and then there is a thigh swivel built into the bottom of the connection there. Double jointed knee gets you past 90 degrees, so that's fine. And then the pants, I feel like I'm a sucker for more, like they are baggy enough, but because they don't have the weight of the real pants, sometimes you got to keep like bringing them down to kind of give you the accurate look you want. The boots are all sculpted with these details that I've never even noticed before. I'm not sure if the camera's picking them up well, but they're all these like kind of symbols and textures and the different aspects of the boot, and that worked well. And then it feels like the same sort of ball hinge down at the bottom, because it's two pieces. It's this piece, like this foot piece is connected to this piece, which hides the seams, which is nice. And then the under piece is where the articulation engineering is into the foot. So you get an ankle tilt down, up. They're slight both ways, and then just the slightest rocker. Now you may be able to manipulate that and get more out of it. I'm just not comfortable because I know these are expensive, and it was sent to me to just take a look at and not to break, which, as some of you know, can be a challenge for me. Okay, let's talk about the soft goods. Just as a whole, I love the leather look throughout. The robes, hit or miss for me. So they're tight here at the shoulder, and then they kind of balloon out at the arms, which gives it like almost a clown look, which I'm not crazy about. And then this piece, the collar piece that comes down, is good, but underneath, I don't think that this is accurate. I think it's almost like more traditional Jedi robes, where it's like it would be half here, and then the other half comes down here, and then it turns into all this stuff. So those are criticisms of mine for sure. And then all this stuff all has wireframe in it, which I don't necessarily need. I get how it's kind of cool, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of it, which does give it that kind of classic depth and look that you look for with a Darth Maul. So I dig that an awful lot. I like the dimensions that it adds to it for sure. My only other criticism of this guy, kind of as we've gone, is the articulation of the head, which I'm not sure we went over, but it's that same kind of disc head joint that goes up into the head to a ball peg into the chest, I would assume. But you only get the articulation really at the chest, because it's probably there, and this is probably stuck, I would imagine. Not stuck, but like a singular peg going up. So you get the swivel, and that works fine. You only get down to about there and up to about there. Had the neck been its own piece, you could have brought the head way further down and kind of gotten more life out of it. I think for display purposes, you'll be okay, but I think that it does kind of limit the action pose capability of making a believable look. Everything's going to be fairly stuck there, but it's not hateful. It's just something worth pointing out. So I had this discussion with the Nerd Rage guys, and I was like, I can see myself doing like a 1/6 scale Sith Lord collection, but The problem is, and I'm trying to be as objective as possible, because 1/6 scale I don't necessarily think is my thing. But let's kind of stick to the facts. So I think that the negatives are that the head could have used more articulation, and I think that the feet could have been easier to articulate. I think that those two things on the articulation side are kind of what sum up the issues here. Outside of that, I think that the soft good application from the chest to the shoulders, as well as the soft good application of the torso piece, the tunic, something's off there. I think that the rest of it kind of works well given what it is. And then lastly, that lightsaber. And maybe I'm doing something wrong, and I'm way open to that. But I've put a lot of lightsabers in a lot of toys, and I've never had the sort of issues that I'm having with this guy, and I've never paid this much for a Darth Maul figure. So I think something needs to be said about that. There is some sort of issue there, and it's a fairly substantial issue. Like if it was his binoculars, you know what I mean? I'd be like, okay, fine. But it's not his binoculars. It's his lightsaber. I also think that he should have come with an overcloak that you could have put on. Since it's a soft good figure, why not go the full distance with that? As for the positives, though, the paint and the face sculpt are outstanding. There are 110%. They gave everything they had to that, and I definitely recognize it. The paint as a whole, which is really just the face, the head, and the lightsaber, but it's all done beautifully. I think the soft goods do work really well for the undercloaks between the abdomen and the calves. I think that the hand options are absolutely tremendous. It's the perfect assortment. You have relaxed, you have different types of poses, you have the force using hand and the holding hands. Like I wouldn't have asked for another thing, even get fists. So I think that they did a spectacular job on those choices as well. Do I recommend it? No, not if this lightsaber issue is spread across the board. I certainly do not. I don't know if this is an issue with his or if this is an issue with all of them, but I know that it is a deal breaker for me. If the lightsaber works and you're into 1/6 scale figures, I think that he's kind of fine, but I don't think that he's anything necessarily spectacular. However, I think with those changes that I recommended, it very well could have been. But yeah, a character that didn't get enough love in the movies, and maybe he didn't get enough love in this representation. I'm kind of becoming a little bit familiar with the whole Sideshow Hot Toys thing. I don't know if Hot Toys did a Darth Maul, but I'd be interested in looking at that and comparing the two, if only in my mind's eye. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.